I had mentors coming up that taught me how to be successful, taught me how to close, taught me how to make that first million. But I didn't hire a mentor to teach me what to do and not piss money away. I didn't have to go buy $250,000 in jewelry. Can I now direct someone and say, hey, look, I suggest you take it back a little bit of a notch. Wish I would have, had that person.
Do you still believe in 2025 that wholesaling is the best place to start in real estate?
In my opinion, wholesaling is 100% the best way to start in real estate. It's going to give you the greatest chance to make a significant amount of money in a relatively short amount of time. And I think it will be for many, many, many years to come. I think we're leaving probably an extra $100,000 on the table because we're not doing.
Welcome back to another episode of the Austin Zabak Show. Today we've got Nick Luevano in the house, and Nick Luevano is a gentleman that I've actually known for quite a while. We know a lot of the same people, and a lot of you watching probably have heard the name. He's most known for wholesaling real estate and really being a serial real estate entrepreneur, done over 750 real estate transactions, mentored and coached over 350 real estate entrepreneurs, and has a $10 million plus portfolio stuff that you're working on. And Nick, I appreciate you, flying in and hanging out with me today.
Man, good to be here. I know we haven't seen each other in years. So
years.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, dude. I went to an event of yours. We were talking a bit before the show. You and Octavius, one of your partners back in the day.
Yep.
I think it was just me there. But there was a couple guys that we knew, like Victor Heredia, if that name sounds familiar.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was a good event that you guys did back then, bro. I mean, with the cold calling and everything like that.
Yeah.
I learned a lot back then. And yeah, dude, it's been a long time though, man.
Yeah, no, and it's incredible to see just everyone evolve. Mm-hmm. Because I remember coming to Arizona back in 2018, 19, paying for events and just networking, and then just to see some evolve massively, and then some people just disappear. So
totally
interesting.
Really interesting, dude. I've noticed that over the years too. Like a lot of people, I don't know, bro, because we in our age demographic, like there's so many people that I think just fake it, and then you can only fake it for so long. Right? Like the guys that are faking it with the Lambo and they live in the apartment and they got their laptop lifestyle crap going on, and they don't really have any infrastructure. They don't have any real thing, right? It's just like they're just winging it every day, every week, every month, So we live in an interesting time. That's why I always tell people not to compare to other people, right? Yeah. Comparison's the thief of joy, man. Because you just never know.
Mm-hmm. You know? I think that for me personally speaking, I've been doing this since 2017, and now we're in 25.
Right.
And if it wasn't working, then, I'd probably be, like everybody else, kind of ghost and switching from, we talked about all those different endeavors that were being pitched. So interesting.
Yeah, totally, dude. So let's dive in. For anybody watching, I want them to get a lot of value from this episode. And I want to really want to break down wholesaling, right? And how you got to where you're at and what it is that you do. And then we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty of all of that. And then, we can kind of transition and talk about what your plans are, what you're working on, what you invest your money into, and really just drop a lot of value. So, how long have you actually been wholesaling real estate?
2017 is when I got going. And it started with just a ad on YouTube. It was a pitch. I think it was Cody Sperber and Josh Altman pitch.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what it was. They were just no money. So, and pushing people to a web class, and then a course.
Yep.
That was where the vision began.
Sure.
Just an ad. So,
dude, you got started for the same result as me. So Cody Sperber's the reason I got into the game, right?
Yeah, I remember back in the day.
Dude, way back in the day, bro. And I got in, so I saw an ad of Cody Sperber even before then, because I was actually partners with Cody Sperber.
I remember.
When you saw that Altman ad.
Okay.
So I'd already partnered up with him, because I got into wholesaling in 2014. And because of a Cody Sperber ad, pre-Josh Altman, And man, I remember him standing in front of the bank in front of that white Lamborghini, and I think he had a black Rolls Royce Ghost at the time and a 7 Series BMW or whatever. And I remember same thing, dude. I was working a job that I hated, 2013, 2014. And this guy's talking about getting into real estate, no money down, no credit, no. And I'm thinking to myself, how could that be true, right?
Absolutely.
That can't be right,
Yeah.
And, fast forward, bro, and then I ended up really just going, like, I think when I came to your event, you know, I was in a season of life where I was just going to everybody's event because I just wanted to learn I wanted to see if there was anything out there that other people were doing that I wasn't doing, you know, because I just wanted to really level up. And so it was really cool, dude, you know, to see how that all evolved. So you got in at that point in time, you saw this ad. Did you hire a coach? Did you hire a mentor? Like, what did that look like for you?
You know, before like even seeing that ad, I was already looking for a different industry.
Okay.
Because I came from the Vima, MLM, network marketing, come to my house, and it was big here in Arizona. The Alex Morton, the like, you know, the energy drinks, the juice. That's where I came from.
Verb.
Right? The Verb.
Yeah.
And I tell this story was the best decision I ever
100%.
made.
Yep.
Was getting involved with that company and then growing that business. I did that from 2013 to 2017, early 17.
Wow.
Like I was like that guy, like traveling across the country. The Alex Morton just fully locked in. That was what I was going to do. And I made it work, you know? So when that whole thing kind of was like dwindling down, the Federal Trade Commission, then we switched to this company, then it was like chaos. I was like, all right, I need to find another industry.
Yeah.
But I had developed this like special skill set, right? You know, from 2013 to 2017, this special skill set. So I said, hey, what can I, you know, deploy? What can I build, right? With just a higher potential for commission.
Yeah, dude, totally. Bro, Vima, I was in Vima. And
funny.
I was under Morton. I was under Cody Barton.
Yeah.
You know, we lived, because you lived in California at that time, right?
Yeah.
I lived here. So that's probably why we didn't cross paths a lot. I bet you we were literally in the same downline, you know, because I was under Brad Alcazan, and then it went Alex Morton and Cody Barton, a bunch of other people obviously in between. And then I was like right there.
Yeah.
But I only hit Diamond. That's like the top rank that I hit. So I got the Mercedes paid for by the company and all that crap. And then, and that's right when it got shut down, you know? And I was like, you, bro, I was like, I thought that was going to be what I did for the rest of my life.
100%.
Like you know, I was like network marketing all the way, bro, you know, best decision I ever made. But it was scary because I remember that time you're talking about where it was like getting shut down. And you went to Jeunesse, right?
I didn't go to Jeunesse. I went to Zango.
A lot of people went there, yeah.
And which I knew from the get-go, like when we flew to Vegas to like see the product, I was like, no, I knew it. And I remember no one knows this, like, but I had like, that's the first time I had these like heated conversations with like my upline mentors. Like it was like behind the scenes, like me and Brad Alcazan, like belly to belly, like, because I had grown up from 2013. I was just like, 20, fresh out of college.
Yeah.
Now 2017, I'm like older. So I'm like, hold on, like this doesn't make sense. I remember getting into like a very heated discussion with, you know, the upline. I'm like, this isn't it.
Yeah.
You know, I knew it. I just had a gut feeling that it just wasn't it, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And then that's when you got into real estate.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Give or take.
I ran with Zango for about a year.
Okay.
And probably 6 months into it, I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, I love the industry. And I was so grateful and thankful for what it taught me. Because if it wasn't for network marketing, no personal development, no public speaking, no sales skills, like no true mentorship. And I think the beauty of that program was the mentorship was 99% free. Because the better that you did, the better that your mentors did. You know, it was advantageous for them to teach you everything.
Yeah.
And I was so thankful to a guy by the name of Jed. I'm sure you might know who Jed is.
I think I do know Jed, yeah.
He was like a star presidential. I got to presidential, which was like the 6-figure, you know, and above rank. And he literally bled into me for years.
Wow.
And taught me the game.
That's awesome, dude. Jed Buenaluz or something like that?
Jed Buenaluz.
Yeah,
Yep,
okay,
that's it.
yeah, good dude.
Jed.
Yeah, I met him a couple times.
Yeah, great
so
guy.
then when you got into wholesaling, what did you have somebody help you get that first deal? Like, or was it just YouTube University, like you figuring it out on your own?
It was, so like for me, I was, you know, I'm very strategic. And I literally looked at my phone and I said, who do I know who's in real estate? Before I bought that course that they were pitching, the Josh Altman Cody course, it's probably like $1,000. I was getting ready to buy it. And I said, before I buy this course, who do I know who's actually in real estate? I looked at my phone, like literally, and there was 5 people, like 2 of them were agents. Some were like just kind of dibble dabbling, this and that. And I remember Octavius was kind of doing it. And, you know, I just called every single person who I thought could give me some direction on what I should do. But no mentor. I didn't hire a coach. I wish I would have. But at that time, it was just like using my network for sure.
And so Octavius was one of the people you called?
Yeah, because he was doing it, but not really having success.
Sure. Yeah. At a low level, like just
Super
kind of
low.
like, yeah. And what was that conversation like? Do you remember that? Like, was that when, like, did you partner at that point, or like, did that come later on down the line? Because at some point you partnered with Octavius for a period of time, right?
So I said, hey, let me take you out to dinner.
Okay.
He says, cool, great. I didn't know at the time when I took him out to dinner, he was living in his car.
No way.
Zero idea.
He's like, heck yeah, you could take me out to dinner.
1,000,000%, right?
You know what I mean?
I remember.
Yeah.
It was, I took him to a spot in Pasadena, my hometown, called Volcano. It was an Asian restaurant. We sat down and we talked about it. And I felt like he didn't want to say, hey, I need, it'd be great to potentially partner. I just said, hey, look, you bring this to the table. I bring this to the table. Let's put them together. Let's become partners right now, today.
No way. Wow.
And he didn't hesitate. He said, oh, great. Boom.
Yeah.
Right. Little did I know he was living in his car.
Sure.
And so, we started the strategy for the next 2 weeks was just door knocking foreclosures.
No way.
Pulling a list from Property
You
Radar.
and him.
Me and him.
Wow.
Yeah. We drove from LA all the way up to Sacramento, door knocking foreclosures. Pull this Property Radar, and we would strategically plan out, right? From LA, then, hit houses in Bakersfield, Tulare, Fresno, Madera, Modesto, Stockton, Sacramento, all the way, boom. And then we'd hit them on the way down. Drive up, drive down, leave Friday, come back probably Monday.
No way. Wow. And what were like the nitty gritty of that, like because people still do that, right? People still door knock foreclosures all the time, especially people who are new to the game. Were you pulling obviously pre-foreclosure, right?
Yeah, like we do. I remember the criteria. It was just basically
60 days before they got foreclosed.
There was an auction date.
Okay,
there had to have been an auction date.
Sure.
It wasn't like we didn't want there to be like a foreclosure notice and no auction date. We wanted it to be close.
Yep.
So there's just like
that motivation,
1,000,000%.
Yeah, and then when you knocked on the door, what was the thing that worked the most for you? Like, what would you say that got that didn't get the door slammed in your face?
We did get slammed a bunch.
Yep.
Guns pulled on, dogs, insane. Yeah. But the thing that probably was the best was our approach to, hey, we're here to help. And we want to talk to you about the situation with the bank.
Yep.
We didn't knock on the door and say, hey, we want to buy your house. You're in foreclosure. Boom. Like, why would we do something like that? So we knocked. Say, hey, we wanted to reach out. We were in the neighborhood. And we wanted to communicate with you and see if we can help you any type of way. What? Help me about what? Just the situation with the bank.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of one of those things where, we came in as a helping hand, which we were.
Sure. Yeah. I like that approach way better, right? Instead of like, because some people I've heard do it like every type of way, right? And some people they knock on the door and they're like, hey, like you're in foreclosure, like let me, and it's too aggressive, right? Like because obviously anybody who's in that type of situation, they're not proud of that, right?
Yeah.
Like they already probably, are like, yeah, they're just not proud of it. And so like, you don't want to piss them off the moment they open the door. You're trying to do a deal with them at the end of the day, right?
100%.
And did you end up doing some deals that way? Like what did that look like for you?
So that was only, we did that for about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And little to no success. But we were never going to quit. The goal was actually to close our deal together, door knocking, take that income, and then just pour it into like a paid marketing source.
Okay, got it.
And at the time, there wasn't the all these services that are available today. Like today, it's insane. If you're getting into this business, like all the tools, all the mentorship, all the like skip tracing sites and that didn't exist when I got started. Like
none of that crap.
I mean, we were doing single skip.
Yeah.
Single skip. That's 200 lists, 200 records per list.
It's insane. Yeah, dude, it's come a long ways. I remember when like PropStream came out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like there was nothing back in the day. Yes, I totally agree. So then at what point did you, because I know at one point you guys got really heavily into like cold calling, right?
Yeah.
And like hiring VAs, in the Philippines or wherever you're hiring them. And I want to talk about that. Was that really the first big kind of marketing thing that you put together and you succeeded at?
Yeah. I think that's, so, we door knocked foreclosures and then randomly, I kind of took the network marketing approach to real estate.
Yep.
I started talking to all my friends and family. Hey, I'm buying real estate. Hey, I'm buying real estate. Hey, I'm buying. Did I go explain wholesale? No. I said, I'm buying real estate. Got a referral from a family friend. She said, hey, go talk to her because I think she's having a foreclosure situation.
Yeah.
That was the first deal. It was a referral, right?
Wow.
100% zero paid marketing. The foreclosure door knocking sucked, right? We didn't get a deal in 3 weeks, which we weren't going to quit. But the first deal was $90,000 on that first deal. And it came from a referral.
No way.
And that's just me opening my mouth.
That's a lot of money on a deal.
Yeah, 100%. And it was like, so my entry to this business was my first deal in under 30 days, $90,000.
Wow. pretty crazy success story, right? Yeah. So I'd imagine that was the deal where you're like, dang, like if I could do that one time, I could do it 1,000 times,
100%,
right?
Yeah.
And so then did you take that money and roll it into like the office and like marketing and stuff?
Boom.
Is that
next? Literally, wire hit. I was in like Cabo at the time with like the network marketing. That was like the last trip.
Yeah.
I remember getting that wire, and I'm like looking at the ocean, and I'm just like, all right, like I was there on like a network marketing trip. Yeah. I was like, all right, when I get back, I'm announcing that I'm no longer involved. I'm full throttle. So we opened up the office. It was just him and I, and then we were just kind of just like the second deal didn't come until about a month and a half, 2 months after.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then we got the office for like $4 or $5K a month, like a WeWork. And we were cold calling.
Got it.
We pulled lists, and him and I were cold calling, and we ended up closing like 1 or 2 deals. And we said, you know what, we need to scale.
Yeah.
And when we got the idea to build that virtual call center, that's when everything changed.
Sure. And where did that idea come from? Because I mean, back then there wasn't a lot of people talking about that, right? Like, 'cause I even remember coming to your office, and I knew about cold calling. I had dabbled in it a little bit, but you guys were actually doing that marketing channel better than me, and that's why I was there at your office, like to learn about how you built that. So like, how did you even hear about building a virtual call center back in like that time frame?
I think it was just through networking.
Okay.
And I remember it was just trial and error. And like, it's so crazy because I'm still like one of the biggest advocates for that marketing channel. I've been doing it nonstop since we began, and since in 2017. But through networking, I remember we tried to hire people through Craigslist or through Indeed or whatever it was to come to the office, and we're like, this doesn't work. The hourly is way too high. At that time, it was like $7, $8, $9, $10. I don't know what it was in LA, whatever minimum wage was in 2017. And then they just weren't that motivated. It was just like I was like, we got to figure something out. And then we had the idea to just go hire VAs and create an hourly pay and build, systematize it and build it out. And then everything took off. It was insane.
And what did you do to like make that happen? Like, how did you know, like, I'm going to hire, because was it Filipinos that you primarily specialize in, or was it like Mexico? I can't remember.
Primarily Filipino.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So because I know nowadays, like, I mean, you got guys that are talking about like Egyptian cold callers and like Filipino cold callers and Rocky Point cold callers. Yeah, Mexico, Puerto Penasco, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like why the Philippines? Like, and then how back then did you even find people in the Philippines to be able to come work for you?
First, it was like, what was it? It was like onlinejobs.ph was like the biggest one. It still, works today. But I think our training process, it was like we would interview, bring on like 20, 30, and then actually end up keeping like 10.
Oh, wow.
And that's just kind of like how it is today. And just, I think hiring, you bring 5 people, you're probably gonna end up really keeping 1, maybe 2, right? And that probably number like 10, bring on 10, maybe keep 1 or 2. So,
sure.
And then it was just trial and error. Creating our own flow charts, creating our own SOPs and DMOs, and coming up with the quality control manager, and just like literally, I think that book Traction helped a lot.
It's a great book.
That book Traction helped a lot. I think like after reading Traction, that first million came like shortly after.
Yeah, for sure. You read Rocket Fuel too, right?
I haven't read Rocket Fuel.
It's a great one too.
Okay.
Same author.
Okay.
Yeah. They kind of go hand in hand, Traction and Rocket Fuel. Yeah, you should read Rocket Fuel for sure. So cold calling. Let's spend a few minutes on cold calling.
Sure.
So I think there's a lot of people watching right now, Nick, that they're like, yeah, cold calling's dead or whatever. You know what I mean? And the funny thing is I still do cold calling at a really high level.
Oh, nice.
You still do cold calling at a really high level, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say to that person who's watching right now and they're like, Nick, cold calling don't work anymore?
I think that they're insane.
Yeah.
I mean, we do 200,000-300,000 a month, right? Cold calling. And that is the number one marketing channels for me since 2017.
Yeah. And we're in 2025.
Yeah, 2025.
Still works.
And don't get me wrong, we've had to make adjustments, change a lot of things throughout the years, right? If you're not changing and modifying and keeping up with the times and things like that, but it still 100% works. Also, you just got to pay attention to the market that you're also cold calling. Like, would I cold call Orange County, California? Probably absolutely not. Yeah. Probably be a big waste, right?
Right, yeah.
But would I cold call, I don't know, Tulsa, Oklahoma? Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you explain that too? Because I understand exactly what you're saying, but I feel like a lot of other people don't. Why is it that cold calling will work so well in one market and not in another market, in your opinion?
It's just the clientele.
The demographic.
Okay. Clientele. And again, like what I consider a lead, you might not consider a lead. What you consider a lead, somebody else might not consider a lead. A lot of people got to understand cold callers, VAs, virtual assistants, are not acquisition managers.
No.
They're not sales reps. They're like getting, for me at least, 2 out of 3 things, and get off the phone, right?
Yeah.
All I want is, do they have a little bit of motivation, grasp the condition, and mention price? If you just get the motivation, like, okay, I'm open to an offer, and the property might need a tiny little bit of work, cool. Submit it to the sales reps. You've done your job.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the longer that VA spends on the phone, probably the worse off you are, right? Yeah. Like in all reality, because if you try to get your VA to get too deep into the weeds, VAs they start to stumble over the words. Their accent maybe gets in the way, and then all of a sudden it kind of spooks the seller.
Yeah, it actually, it will, because they're already naturally skeptical.
Right.
We do. It's so crazy. Like we have 2 quality control managers that manage that entire operation, and I say keep it simple. KISS, keep it simple, Sally, whatever it is. Like we want you to be on the phone for probably under a minute. Most likely. Like if our sales reps, all you need is the seller, first name, last name, that they were somewhat interested, and I don't care if they said carpet, that's all you need.
Yeah.
I don't care about roof, foundation, electrical, plumbing, timeline, motivation. I don't care about any of it. They're not required to do it. I don't care. If the seller starts spilling and spitting, great, right? More info for our sales guys, but I don't want any of it. I want the bare minimum, and our sales guys, highly trained sales ninjas, will go close that deal.
Yeah. When you're pulling data, how many states do you like to have your cold callers calling in at any given time? Like, I can't imagine it's all 50 states.
We'll probably do like 2 or 3 different states at a certain time.
Cool.
But one state that we're never ever going to get out of is just California for us. Right.
And why is that?
For me, that's just where I build, like, I want to build long-term wealth. Sure. So like if there's a property that comes on, like, okay, I'll buy that one all day long, especially anywhere in Southern California, Central California, and that's just for me, like, where I feel like buyers right now are probably a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
They'll pay a little bit more because the appreciation is going to be crazy. And if interest rates were to drop a little bit, right, I think that we can maximize profitability on just the wholesale side.
Yeah, sure. And in a Donald Trump economy, I can't imagine in 2 years from now, interest rates aren't lower than where they are today.
Boom time.
I mean, he's going to do whatever it takes to get them lower.
Yeah.
Right? That's what he's doing right now with the tariffs and everything like that. It's all in an effort to get interest rates lower.
I tell my team and anybody, this is the best time to be in business. The best time, like any business, right? In America. Obviously, we're both in the real estate industry, but any business, right? Roofing, solar, whatever it is you do, insurance, car sales, right? Like, we prefer real estate, and I'll never leave this industry. But this is the best time.
I agree, dude.
Like, if you ever wanted a shot to become a millionaire, this is it right now.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that, like, everybody's kind of on edge right now because Trump's moving so quickly, right? But it's like, that's all going to settle down in a month or 2 or 3, right? Like, it's all going to settle down. The markets are crypto's going to turn back around. Like, this is just a little dip, right? There's a little dip. He even said it himself. He's like, hey, it's going to get hard before it gets better. It's going to get worse before it gets better, right? And that's just the truth of the matter. But I agree, man. The next 4 years, I saw a tweet by somebody in Trump's cabinet like a couple days ago saying that their goal is to get the 10-year from 4% to 1% in the next couple years.
Wow.
I mean, so you're talking about potentially 3.5 to 4% interest rates again.
And like what you do now, like you're going to be able to benefit from the work you do right now.
1,000,000%.
Like it's going to be insane. So like, I feel like that was like hopefully like the kick in the ass, for everybody, heading into this year.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, are just like, more, even myself, more focused, more hungry, even more than ever before.
I agree. When you're choosing markets aside from California, okay? So like for people watching, you're choosing a market, you're trying to, because people always ask, right? Like, how do I know what market to like do to wholesale in or whatever, Like a lot of people, they live like in a bad market. Like there is such thing. I think if you live in Bismarck, North Dakota, you probably shouldn't be wholesaling, right?
Never, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like sometimes you have to go outside of your own backyard to wholesale. How would you say, again, aside from California, would be the best way to pick a market? Is it just looking at like, you like wholesaling in red states over blue states, or is it more like, how do you look at that? Yeah, no, for us, anywhere where there's a population over 100,000. Okay.
Right? 100,000 population is great. And for us, Midwest for us is like our number, like even better than California. Like we're doing the most amount of deals straight up in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And so
you think it's just because the price point of the homes?
Yeah, they're still I guess you can call them affordable, right? They may not be affordable to like the people living in the Midwest, but like you could still go to Texas and find a house for $300K.
Yeah, which
right?
is nuts.
Yeah, like that doesn't exist in California. It's probably not going to exist here for much longer.
I don't think it hardly does here anymore, even.
Yeah, I remember when it did.
You can't get a pot. I mean, you can get something here for $300K, but you're not going to enjoy it. Like it's not. You're not going to like your life.
Yeah,
I don't think.
And that's what California has become. Like $1 million, you're not going to like it.
Right.
9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Which is even like more insane, right?
Yeah.
So that's why like that. Like we just did a deal. And this is a great example for this conversation where like the ARV was probably like middle 800s.
Okay.
And it was in like the Norwalk, California, which I know for a fact that you can even offer a little bit higher because the people that can't afford to live in LA, like they can live in Norwalk. Right. And so the buyer, the flippers are going to be like, this thing's going to sell like hotcakes. Right. And so, again, you know, for us Midwest, they have that like great price point.
Yeah.
And typically what I've noticed is just like that Southern hospitality, it still exists. Common folk, simple folk, nice folks, sweet, ma'am, you know, sir, we're very punctual. Love it.
Yeah, I love that, dude. Yeah, freaking amazing. Okay, so now you got to pull data, right? Somebody watching, they got to, if they want to get into cold calling, they got to pull data. When you're looking at data, right, what... You know, because I think people mess this up a lot, Nick, right? They think that like what you just described when you were door knocking doesn't necessarily work with cold calling because you got to do it at scale and there's only so many people in foreclosure. You can't, if you gave your cold callers the foreclosure data, the data would last them 3 days.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you pull enough data to give to them? What are you filtering out when you're looking at data, when you're on Batch or wherever you're pulling your data? Is it just absentee, high equity? Like, what is it?
And this has changed now with, you know, now we're obviously doing, which majority of, you know, higher level guys are Novations.
Yep.
So it's kind of changed, right? Because before, like, I had this criteria where it was like, I remember back in the day, it was like 1930 year building up. Now it's like 1940 and up, you know, things like that, 1950 and up, whatever it may be like. But now we can kind of pull a little bit of newer houses in like the 90s and stuff like that because we're utilizing Novations where a couple years ago I didn't even know what a Novation was, right? So for me, I believe in this blanket marketing where I will pull every single record in a specific county until there's nothing left to pull. And then we'll recall that thing in like, you know, 4 to 6 months. Got it.
Is there any filters that you want to see though? Like maybe you don't want to see anything under a certain price point or it can't be like they have had to move in the last, you know, 5 years or something.
Yeah, like my favorite lists are obviously like 30% or more equity.
Sure.
Right. Obviously the high equity absentee, the 20-year owner occupants, the empty nesters. I always pull the pre-foreclosures, foreclosures, tax delinquent code. I pull everything. And like we're pulling, I mean, I don't know, $500,000 a month.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's insane. But like, you know, for us, if that's going to be our number one channel, then we have to be up to date with like the amount of data we're pulling and we have to lead, you know? And then obviously like, you know, I have outsourced and I have employees that are managing that. Like I'm personally not really pulling the data anymore. I'm not talking, you know, I'm not doing that type of stuff.
Course.
You know, our goal is just, we want a conversation 3 to 7 seconds in between conversations. And like cold call wise, our callers are on the phone just 5 hours.
Yeah.
5 hours a day, 3 to 5 solid leads per day.
Per caller.
Per caller.
Yeah. And how many callers do you like to run with?
Anywhere between 20 and 30.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's always, and people are like, what do you mean 20 or 30? We fire extremely quickly.
There's always turnover.
Yeah. And then we hire. So like for us, we're always hiring and we're always firing all the time. And I'm actually, you know, because of just my students and like the community. And I think a lot of people are still cold calling. I believe it's like one of the best strategies in the beginning before you can, a lot of guys don't have, you know, the info or the money straight up to maybe do the PPL or the PPC and all that good stuff. So like, it's still one of those, like you could still get a lot of bang for your buck, like under, you know, 5K, 3K, you know, for the younger guys.
I agree, dude. Yeah. Cause I mean, if you want to get in the pay-per-click game, I mean, I guess it depends on the market, but like not only is it probably going to be at least like 10K a month or more, but it's also like if you don't do it for 4, 5, 6 months, you might not even see a positive ROI.
Exactly.
Like PPC takes a while, right? I've seen so many guys, they do pay-per-click for 3 months, they don't get a deal, and they quit doing it.
And you know, it's funny is sometimes people are like that with cold calling.
Right.
And you gotta understand, like, it's just so crazy to me. And I just made a post, like one of the the biggest, I guess, things that or one of the biggest focuses this year for myself is like health, fitness, nutrition. I think that last year I kind of put it on the back burner. And first thing I did was hire a coach and a nutritionist and all the gyms and whatever I had to do. And I made a post and I was like, look, I'm committed for 90 to 120 days. Then I'll assess.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
I've only been at it 2 weeks. Have I probably lost a pound or two? Maybe. I don't know, right? Am I going to see a significant change in my body, right, in 2 weeks?
Right.
No, right? I probably won't see it for 4 weeks, right? I made this post and I said 90 to 120 days, and I'm going to shut up and listen to what my professional coach tells me to do. Stay committed, stay consistent. And I didn't want to, we got in last night late, and there was like an hour time change. And guess what? I was at the damn gym, hotel gym, at like 5:30 this morning, a little bit later. And did I want to do it? Hell no, I didn't want to do it, right? But I made a commitment.
Yeah.
So whether it's cold calling or the PPC, at minimum 90 to 120 days. And then you could have data to kind of assess what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. You cannot turn it off too soon. Don't start at all if you can't afford to keep it on for 3 to 4 to 5 months.
1,000,000%.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Now that you're where you're at, you're obviously doing, multiple 7 figures a year wholesaling, Novations, all of these different things, right? Do you see, or are you already doing any other types of marketing that you like, maybe not as much as cold calling, but that you're kind of looking at, you're like, okay, this could be a stable in my company, like PPL or PPC or direct mail or anything like that?
PPL, those exact two.
Okay.
PPL, PPC, cold calling, those are my top 3 channels. Yep. Obviously, like the potential lead motivation is going to be a little bit different. Price per lead is going to be, cost per lead is going to be a little bit different. But those are my 3 go-tos. Yeah, for sure.
And when it comes to pay-per-click, like I know it's really hard, so we won't spend very much time on it. But what would be your general advice on somebody looking to get into pay-per-click? Like, should they hire an agency to run the Google ads like for them and build the landing pages and stuff, or should they try to get on YouTube University and figure out how to do the Google and everything themselves, in your opinion?
So it just depends on who the person is. Like, would I go on YouTube University and try and figure it out me personally today? Absolutely not. Right. No, 1,000,000%. I'm going to go.
Your time's worth more money.
I just don't have the patience. I don't want to do it. I don't care. Like, I'm going to go find the best guy or girl and pay the best to create the best. Like, that's me, right? But if you're like new and you have time and maybe you're kind of like good with that type of stuff, you might consider doing it. Yeah. But for me, no way. Yeah. So it just depends on where you are. I just, it's kind of like I'm at a place where, it's almost like I had a conversation. Someone called me yesterday, I had a conversation, and like I felt the conversation was going in a certain direction, and I was off the phone within like 30 seconds. I was telling my girlfriend about it, literally. Yeah. Like, I was like, it's like, I'm actually going to catch a flight, I got to go, but we'll chat. Like, I was like, why am I I have to, I have that click. And I think it's just over the years, right? I realized limited association, disassociation, and time management. Yep. So I wouldn't do it.
I love 100%. It, dude. Yeah. Let's talk about Novations for a minute, right? So, you said a couple years ago, you didn't really even know what a Novation was. I don't think very many people did. It existed, but nobody knew what it was. How many out of let's say you do, for every 10 wholesale deals that you do, like just straight up wholesale to a cash buyer, how many would you say are Novation out of every 10?
I'd say probably like, if we did 10 wholesales, then we're doing 5 Novations.
Really? Wow. So quite a bit.
Yeah. And like, it's funny you say this as well, because what I'm realizing is I didn't really understand how much training that I needed to give to my team when it comes to Novations.
Yeah, because they're really hard conversations to have. They're complex, is what they are.
Different. And I thought it was like, when I first heard about it, researched it, did it, I was like, okay, I understand it. But I just realized that you really got to spend way more time in training your team when it comes to Novations. Yep. I had a conversation before we left here. I said, I think we're leaving, probably an extra $100,000 on the table because we're not doing more Novations.
Wow. Yeah.
Easily every single month.
I probably am too. If you're leaving it on the table, I definitely am too, because I ain't doing that many Novations.
Yeah, and it's crazy. So what I ended up doing was bringing on a Novation specialist.
Got it.
Like, that person only does Novations.
Really?
100%.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
How do you find somebody like that? Or did you just train them?
So that person was working for me in and out for years. and they worked for a couple different companies, and that company was only doing Novations, and so I just kind of like using my network. And then so anytime that my sales guys lock up a Novation, they just send it to our Novation expert, introduce him as the guy who's going to take it from A to Z, and he handles everything.
I love that.
It's almost like, it's like a real estate agent. Like how much goes into like a traditional transaction?
A lot.
All the different inspections and appraisals and all the crap, right? Very kind of similar with Novation.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, all the way from getting the power of attorney to like having the conversation, setting the precedent of how everything's going to go, and then totally, dude. When you do Novations, I mean, you like to just kind of give it to them and let them run it, and like that's it, right? I mean, there's no like, because we're Rich Wonders. I'm sure.
I've heard,
the Novation King on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
whatever.
I don't know. His
Nobody even knows his real name. Yeah,
I don't. I don't.
The Novation King, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of do that with him a little bit, right? We'll just send him some deals. We'll be like, hey, we talked to the seller. Like we can't make anything work. Like the wholesale deal is not going to work. Like blah blah blah. Like here you go, see what you can do with it. And then if he does the deal, then he'll just kind of say, well, like we'll just make 50%.
It's so funny. That's what I did in the beginning.
Oh, really? Okay.
I did that in the beginning, and no offense to him or his operation. I know he's murdering it.
Yep.
And I know that he's just doing, I don't think he even has marketing, which is incredible. Zero marketing expenses. But I felt I wanted a little bit more control.
Like attention and control, yeah.
Yeah, attention, control. And if I have questions, I have questions, right? So I could look at 10 deals, Novations on the board and say, hey, what's the status of this one?
Yep.
And maybe I do that once a week. Maybe I don't do it at all, right? But I just wanted a little bit more control. And it had nothing to do with the percentages.
Yep.
Just the control. And really, like a lot of times what we'll do every Monday, what I like to do is sit. I have meetings with every department. And the meetings with the acquisition department is also a meeting with the Novation specialist. And so I'll ask my acquisition guys, hey, what's like your top 5 deals that have not been signed just yet? Well, I have this one. Okay, what's the issue with that one?
Right.
Well, this is how, okay, give them a call, right? Let me talk to them. And this has worked like magic. I call that seller and I come in as the owner.
Yep.
And I say, hey, Nick, owner, CEO, I want to reach out to introduce myself and blah, 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 blah. And the morale, it's almost like, you have a bad dinner. Who do you ask to speak to? The manager or the owner? And if the owner happens to be there that night and says, hey, Austin, I apologize, the steak came out, we appreciate you and your wife being here. Dinner's on me. Here's my cell phone number. Next time you want, give me a call. I'll make sure you get you're going to be like, I'm going back.
Yep.
Because when something, when we have the highest seat, right, there's an issue, challenge in any business, the manager, the owner comes in. So I'll do that. And and it also helps training. My sales guys see me on the phone, which I'm not really on the phone.
Sure.
And then they feel like they're like, man, Nick freaking cares.
Yeah. That's powerful.
He freaking cares. He's like calling my lead that hasn't converted. Like this guy freaking cares.
Yeah.
Because that's their commission. You know what I mean? And I'll close it literally on the spot or get damn near to it. And then my guys are pumped, stoked. Because I went in there and I do that on Mondays.
And there's no better way for them to learn than to watch you do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I've gotten better. I'm like, now as I'm building out my home office, getting like the whole setup. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to do calls every Monday and just boom, turn the camera on. There's live, raw, real content of me actually closing deals, which people don't really see me as much anymore.
Yeah,
do that.
no, totally. Yeah, it's hard, dude. When you're an entrepreneur and you're building a company, it's like you start off really strong on social media. Like I've kind of been through the different phases of it too, right? And you're like, you put everything out there. Like I still see Nick Perry do it a little bit, right? He's just walking around with the phone everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
I used to do that a lot. But then you get to a point where like now I have over 400 people between my companies, you know? And I'm just like, now I don't even post hardly ever on social media, right? Like it's kind of like I'm the opposite now. And then I feel like when you get even to the next level, because there's like 100 more levels, obviously, then you go back again. It's like Elon, right? Like Elon's worth $400 billion and he tweets every 10 minutes.
Wow.
So it's like, but there's I think seasons to it. So I want to ask you on your departments, your different departments, you talk about your acquisition department, you got your Novation specialist, right? I'm sure you have dispositions department. Are those the 3 main departments that you have? Do you have setters, closers? Like how does that all work? How have you structured that?
It's very simple. I believe in simplicity. And even when like I'm coaching, students, I'm just like, look, you typically, when you go to a restaurant, you don't see the hostess like bussing tables, and you don't see the person bussing tables cooking the steak in the back.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
So you got to have departments, and my goal is to get the host to be the best host in the world. the busser to be the best busser in the world, the cook to be the best cook in the world, and keep them laser focused on that particular task. And if all these departments are functioning at the highest level, business is booming, right? And so I try and keep the departments separate. There's a little bit like, I have like an office manager who does a little bit of everything here and there, but like for the most part, I keep them separate, and I'll have a meeting with strictly the marketing manager.
Got it.
Right? What's happening with this channel? How many leads? What's the cost per lead? What are we doing? What's happening? What do we need? Any bottlenecks, challenges, issues, blah, blah. And always at the end of each meeting, I go, hey, do you guys see something that I don't see? Because they're in the trenches every day.
Yep.
Like, I'm probably running around town. Like, a lot of times I'm running around town doing this and doing that and doing this. Like, I asked them, I said, hey, look, do you see something that I don't see? How can this get better? What do you suggest? Because they're seeing it every single day. And then once in a blue moon, they'll be like, we think we should actually, boom, let's get it done. Okay, well, we need this tool. Boom, let's get it done, right? And so I'll have a meeting with marketing and then the sales and acquisitions, the Novation specialists, obviously Dispo, and then like a little bit of transactional type of stuff. And then just like a meeting with just like the head of those departments. Like I have one specific guy in charge of acquisitions. And so I'll kind of grill him a little bit and say, hey, look, this is on you. Yeah. Like, this is your job. So if it's not, if we're not getting to our goals, like, it's on you. You come to me. And so, Monday, that's why Mondays are just so damn busy. Yeah,
that's awesome, dude. I love that. No, and I think it's incredibly valuable and important, right? That, and I love the analogies too of the restaurant, the bus boy and the host, right? Because it's true. Yeah, you don't want the bus boy cooking your freaking steak, right? Like, you're gonna be pretty pissed off if you see that guy walk back into the kitchen
or the janitor over there flipping a burger. You know what I mean? Like,
you're not gonna be very happy.
Yeah, dude. So it's like, and I tell people that, and then I'm like, hey, look. A lot of people are like, hey, I got to get better at sales or acquisitions. And then I'm like, well, how many leads are you generating? Yeah. Right? I'm like, all right, well, we had an issue. Like, I've told people all the time, like, okay, well, if you don't have leads coming in, then what deals and sellers do you have to talk to? And if you don't have deals and sellers to talk to, then what do you have to dispo? You don't need cash buyers. And if you don't have, anything to dispo, then why worry about transactions? It all starts with the marketing department, right? Because you need people to talk to. And so a lot of times I'm like, I'd love to help you, and I can help you. I will help you, sales and acquisitions, but you have an issue in the marketing department.
Dude, I didn't even build Dispo for like 7 years. I wholesaled for 7 years, and I just used Dispo houses.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I
just used
the Keegleys of the world, all the different Dispo houses.
And it didn't cut into your profit?
Well, it did, but we made way more money. People always have to do the math on it, right? Like, I did the math, a long time ago. I said, because Dispositions is a completely different company, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, you might have the money flow into the same bank account, obviously, but like, when you look at it as a business owner, Dispositions is so different than acquisitions that it's like, it's literally like building an entirely different company. Yeah. And so when I used to look at it, I'm like, okay, I might give up. Let's say I give up 50%. Let's say my agreement was just anytime I gave a deal to a Dispo house, it was just 50-50 profit split, right? I was like, okay, well, how much would it cost me to go build this whole other department, this whole other company, right? Like, what would that actually legitimately cost me, Okay. And the numbers actually are almost identical when you really break it down, And so, and then not only that, it just freed up all my time, right? I didn't have to worry about dispoing any deals, So we didn't build our dispo department until about 2.5 years ago. Okay. And I've been wholesaling for since 2014, Nice, so I mean. Like, between me and the two partners that I have in my wholesale company, we've done right at about 10,000 wholesale deals. Nice. Which is pretty nuts.
Amazing. That's great.
And, but dude, that means that so I've done about 5,000 of those. So I did about 4,000 deals probably with Dispo houses before I ever did build Dispo myself. Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. I like to I still use them. Yeah. Like, I was telling you before we hopped on, like, we're closing 2 deals with you guys.
Which is dope. Yeah.
But for me, that's like one of the kind of like DMOs from our Dispo department, right? Is to send them to specific Dispo houses. Sure. On top of that, we always have that VIP. Yes. Yeah. Like, that's the first one is sell to the VIP list, which is my VIP list. Sure. My list that I've compiled over years and years and years that no one has access to. People have tried to buy this. Hey, I'll give you 10 grand, for this list, or 20 grand. I said, no, like, you know what I mean? It's not because I'm like selfish or don't want to help. It's just like, no one has access to that, right? Because it's my specific list over years, and also relationships. I've had guys buy deals from our company just because they really like me or want to continue doing business. Totally. And I talk to them like my uncles, or like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm just like, hey, talking kind of smack and this and that. Here we go, and they're like, boom, let's go, let's rock. You know. So for us, it's like VIP. And then one of the DMOs is, we send to specific ones. You guys are one of them. And we only trust like 2 more. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Totally, dude.
That's
That's all you need. You just need a couple, right? And then I agree with you. I think everybody watching, always try to dispo it on your own. But I see too many guys, they'll cancel on a deal before they'll get help. And I'm like, dude, you're a freaking nut job. Like, if you could make 50% is better than 0%, right? So, like, if you can go...
It's weird.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I see it all the time where, like, they tried selling it themselves until the 9th day of the inspection period, and I'm like... And then now they're canceling. I'm like, dude, on day 4, you should have sent it to somebody and see if somebody else could sell it, Because, like, even us... If we can't sell a deal, we have no ego. My guys will send it to 3 other dispo houses and see if they can sell it, right? 100%. Like, there's no ego. You got to get the ego. I think a lot of wholesalers and people in our industry, their ego gets way too big.
And I think that's something that I probably even suffered in the beginning. And I'm so grateful and thankful that, like, it's crazy how, like, the maturity over the years of business and just life in general. Like, the things that I used to think or want don't even cross my mind anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the things, like, even when you came to our event years back that I was, like, pushing and doing and thinking, I'm just like, it doesn't even, like, I can't even, it's wild.
Dude, it's crazy. You evolve, I've evolved like a millionfold, since back then. So with all the different strategies out there, there's a lot of people, I think, in 2025 that are brand new to wholesaling. And some of what we said has maybe gone over their head. Because you got Pace Morby, love Pace, right? He's talking about sub 2.
Yeah.
You got Rich Wonders talking about Novations. You got, Jamil Damji talking about wholesaling. I'm talking about wholesale. You're talking about wholesale, right? You got people talking about, seller finance, flipping, right? You got Pineda out there. Pineda's talking about flipping houses, Now he's doing a little wholesale too. You got people talking about Airbnb, right? And long-term rental. Section 8's a big thing right now, right? Everybody's talking about Section 8, I feel like, Like, if you're talking to somebody who just, all they know is they want to get into real estate, do you still believe in 2025 that wholesaling is the best place to start in real estate?
In my opinion, wholesaling is 100% the best way to start in real estate.
Yeah.
It's going to give you the greatest chance to make a significant amount of money in a relatively short amount of time. It is still that.
Yep.
And I think it will be for many, many, many years to come.
I agree.
Yeah. And our business has evolved, and that's just to, like, the person saying, hey, I want to get involved, right? Like, you and I will probably sit back and say, hey, look, we get a deal. Our dispo team is like, well, what's the most profitable disposition?
Yep.
Flip it ourselves, hold it, right? Is it a possible novation? Is it a regular wholesale deal, right? Is it are we going to sell it to X and Y and Z, right? So now we're probably thinking differently. But in the beginning, yes, if you want to make a significant, and that could be anywhere from $5 to $100,000, significant amount of income in just one deal, this is it, wholesaling.
I believe it. 1,000,000%. I couldn't agree with you more. And I would tell you if I disagreed with you. You know what I mean? I think wholesaling is the stepping stone to any type of real estate investing that you want to do. Because even think about it, right? To be a great wholesaler, you got to know how to comp. Got to know how to underwrite a deal, right?
100%. But
what do you got to know? If you want to do Airbnb, you got to know how to underwrite a deal. If you want to buy a long-term rental, you got to know how to underwrite a deal. If you want to buy a good Section 8, you got to know how to underwrite a deal. So what the number one thing you learn to be a good wholesaler is how to underwrite. And you need to know how to underwrite to do all these different exit strategies. If you want to flip, you better damn well know how to underwrite.
You better know how to,
you
better know what you're doing.
Yeah, bro. What would be your recommendation too, by the way, on how if somebody's like, yo, Nick, I'm a bad comper, like I can't freaking comp to save my life. What would you tell them to do? Like how does one get good at underwriting?
I mean, the only way to get good at anything is just by doing.
Yeah.
Right? Doing it and doing it and doing it. Maybe hire a coach and mentor, but you're not going to hire a coach and mentor to help you. Hey, teach me how to comp, right? Depending on the market, you can just offer a certain percentage of the ARV or sometimes even the Zillow.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, it's so wild to me. I tell, my students, I'm just like, lock it up and we will figure it out later.
Yeah.
Get control of the asset, right? Because we can always get a price reduction.
Yep.
Right? I may see something on the dispo side that you definitely don't see. So we can sell it to that guy. Maybe it's a buy and hold. Maybe it's a piece of land, whatever it may be. So get control of the asset, right? Don't lock up BS, right? Don't lock up something that just, obviously is just not going to work. But if it's close enough send the agreement. We can always get a reduction, and I will help you figure it out. But if you don't have control of the asset, right, contractual rights to purchase and or assign, then you can't really do anything.
Yeah.
You know?
What's the next step for you? You know, obviously, you know, I feel like the 300K, you know, couple million, 7-figure wholesale business is really a great place to be because you're running at a really high profit margin, right? Yeah. And then you always have to ask yourself, like, what now, right? And I noticed that, you know, you're building a portfolio, correct me if I'm wrong, of real estate, right? Is that the play for you? Like, what is... Because I think it's kind of whatever your play is about to be and what you share is what I think a lot of people should probably be doing. It's like wholesaling is great, cash cow, but then it's like, what do you do with that cash? Right? Yeah. Like if you're smart with your cash. So what are you doing with your cash and what does the next 5-10 years look like with that investment strategy?
One of the things I'm focusing on this year is 2 things. The first one is building my coaching consulting company. I felt like over the years, I kind of treated that business like a hobby and not like a real business. And I really genuinely feel I've gotten to a point in my life where I truly am successful. I feel successful. I feel great. Everything is just operating at the highest. This is the happiest I've ever been, financially, spiritually, mostly. Now we're working on physically. And I feel like I have tremendous amount of value, gifts, insight, experience that I know will dramatically change people's lives for the better. 1,000,000%. And I've coached hundreds and hundreds of people. I've never ran paid ads ever. Yeah. Forever in life, I've never ran paid ads. I'd never had to hard sell someone to sign up or to get into a program. I've never really scaled it like a real I tell one of our team members that's gonna help me scale that business. I'm like, I need to treat the coaching consulting business like I treat my real estate business with the systems, the processes, the personnel, the marketing, everything in between. And once I do that, I know I'll be able to reach more people because I feel that, like I said, I've been entrepreneur, full-time entrepreneur since 2013. Yep. Right. The last job I had was 2012 when I was a senior at San Diego State. And it's not only just making millions of dollars, but it's the person that I've become over this period of time. And I really feel, and I was talking to, our camera guy on the way over here, and I was like, I had mentors coming up that taught me how to be successful, taught me how to close, taught me how to make that first million. Yep. But I didn't have a mentor that when I already, was making 2 and 3 and 4, I didn't have a mentor when you already have the money. Sure. And I wish I would have done that. I remember I was talking to one of Morton's, really good friends, and he was like, yeah, well, we had mentors, to help us get to that point of, really strong financial success. But I didn't hire a mentor to teach me what to do and not piss money away, right? I didn't have to go buy $250,000 in jewelry. Right. Not to say that I couldn't do it, but that's what I did. Not to say I regret it, but maybe if I would have had a mentor, he'd be like, hey, maybe don't buy $250,000 in diamond jewelry. Right. That might not be the most best investment, right? Hey, Nick, maybe don't go spend, $5,000 or $10,000 every weekend partying on bottles, this and that, right? Right. Hey, don't go to Vegas and spend $50,000 in just one weekend, right? Hey, you don't need to be dripped out in designer 24/7 because all that clothes it's gonna fade. It's going to, you're not gonna like it. It goes out of style. It's just gonna lay. It's gonna be thrown away. You're gonna get, it's gonna get stained. Yep. It's never gonna be of any value. Hey, and it comes in all, there's different, departments. And so mentorship comes in all different levels of life. And I looking back, I should have found. I felt like I didn't need a mentor. I was like, oh, I'm making all this money. Yeah. I'm good. No, that's when you needed it probably the most, the most. And so I want to also get to a point to where it's I'm not just teaching people how to make their first million, right? Yeah. But I'm teaching hey, how to keep, right? Get to 2 and 3 and 4, but keep it, make sound decisions. Yeah, right?
So important. Yeah.
So that's going to be one of the priorities this year is just really building it out and treating that coaching consulting business like I treat my real estate business, and then just pouring everything back into long-term assets.
Long-term assets.
Yeah.
And you like long-term as your preference when it comes to that?
Yeah, because I realized that, I don't know, I'm sure you felt like this before. It's hey, you're going to, purchase something or make a big investment, and then it's kind of like, oh man, all right. But then it just becomes normal, natural.
Yeah, totally.
It's like you told me like this place, the amount that you guys are paying on just the rent. I bet you in the beginning it was like, oh, that's a pretty significant amount. But now it's probably like, all right, it's just it's just normal. It's natural. It's every day. Yeah, we normally pay this amount. We're gonna get 2 or 3 more. Like. Because it just became normal, natural life. I tell people like it's like going to a sporting event. I'm big on Dodgers, big on Lakers, right? Every time we go, we sit like dugout club, right? Or damn near close to the front. I don't do that to like flex and be like, hey, look at me. I can get these big seats and spend 2-3K on tickets. No, 4K, whatever it is. That's just genuinely where I love to sit.
Yeah.
I'm used to it. I'll never go back. I don't even think like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It becomes normal, it becomes natural. There's no flex.
Sure, totally. It's like flying first class.
Yes.
Once you do it, it's real hard to go back to coach.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we went in 2024, we went to like 9 different countries. We took Emirates, first class from here to Dubai and the Maldives and the whole freaking thing. And then on the way, like, we booked, there was like, we took like 9 airplanes, okay? So like on one trip, 9 airplanes. So this was one of the 9 trips that we took in 2024. And on the last leg, like all the way back, like, so from like here to Dubai on Emirates, Dubai to like Singapore, Emirates, first class, Singapore Airlines, blah, 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 blah. The Maldives, Thailand, Emirates, just like
Incredible.
back to back, right?
Yeah.
And then on the last leg, I forgot to book that final leg to go because we like landed in the U.S. in Houston, and I had to get back to Scottsdale, obviously, right? And that leg I had forgot to book because it was just a one way, like we just needed to get home, And so we like land, and I had to take Frontier. Right?
Because that was all that was available.
That's all that was available. And so I just got back from this wild trip, right?
Yeah.
And we got all this luggage, and getting on that Frontier flight was a hard flight to get on. Like, I'm like, dude, there's 50-50 we're going to touch down. Like, that was my mindset. I'm like,
oh, whoa,
you know what I mean?
wow.
Like, I'd never flown Frontier before,
Wow.
And I never will again,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, the seats don't even recline. There's not even a tray table. It's like it's a little piece of. I don't know if you've ever flown Frontier. I mean, it's
no, I've
unbelievable.
never flown Frontier.
You're not missing out on anything.
Yeah,
so don't ever do it. Yeah,
it's so funny you talk about flights. So now I've hired some mentors.
Yeah,
and I've communicated with them, and this particular mentor, probably worth $100 million easily. I remember having a conversation with him, and it was about flying private.
Yeah.
He said that it was years back, and he made a decision. When I have a family, I have kids, wife, and he's been married now for probably close to maybe just under a decade. I don't know, like 8 years. And he goes, it's going to be the number one priority that no matter where we travel, it will always be private, no matter what.
Yeah.
I'm going to work to make sure that no matter if we go here, there, it's always private with my family.
I love that.
There's levels to it. There's levels to it. You know what I mean? And so, that's why I'm so excited to launch and be able to make more of an impact because I know just how valuable being around the right people can be. And also, I think I'm at a point where I finally have like that life experience, right?
Yeah.
Where I could really be like, hey, I've done that before. I've been there. Hey, I've been to that place. I wouldn't suggest, you're not missing much. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's important you can relate better when you've been through that thing.
Sure, totally.
And also like the bad stuff, dude. The bad stuff. And I've never even really publicly even talked about it, but getting in trouble with the law. Like I got to a point in 2019 where I was in some deep trouble, and it had nothing to do with like real estate or scams, or it was more of like real big trouble. And so and it was because I was living a really fast life. I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, super innocent, but I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, the wrong club at the wrong this and that. And I was in that picture where I had to literally defend myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's because I was living such a fast life.
Yeah.
And that was a goal of mine, believe it or not. It's crazy. It wasn't a goal, hey, I want to live a fast life, but hey, I want to be in LA, I want to have a Lambo, I want to, just, be in every nightclub, be, crazy and this and that, flashy, and walk in with this and that. And not to say that those things are wrong, but can I now direct someone and say, hey, look, I suggest you take it back a little bit of a notch. Hey, you're making X amount of dollars. I don't think you need to go, be in that area or do this or do that. It's important, you know?
For sure, dude.
You know? So I wish I would have, had that person.
And how do you even give somebody that advice, right? Because I feel like, a lot of people, when they get started, they want all that, right? Like so many young people, they just want to drive the Lambo and wear the watch and buy the Rolex or the AP or the whatever, right? It's almost even hard to talk them out of it sometimes, because I was the same way, like I bought my first Lamborghini when I was like 22 years old.
I remember.
From Cody Sperber, right?
The white one, right?
The white one, yeah.
I
bought an R8 before that from Ricky Gutierrez.
Yeah.
And then I bought the Lambo from Sperber, drove that for a while, ended up buying a Urus, like blah, 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 right? I did all the same crap you did. I mean, literally went to the clubs, partied, wild, bro. Blew a ton of freaking money, like an unbelievable amount of money. Like traveled everywhere I traveled, penthouse, like for and now I'm at a point where like, dude, I'm not even wearing a watch, bro. Like I'm wearing my freaking Whoop. You know what I mean? Like I don't have anything on. Same, bro. Like I literally looked at one of my watches this morning. I was like, I like put it on and then I took it back off. Because like there's just mornings where I'm like, nah, I don't even want to wear a watch today. Yeah. Like I just want to be a normal guy. I am a normal guy, and I don't have any need to do any of that anymore, right? Yeah. But how do you do you think it's even possible to like coach that into somebody without them having to go through it?
Balance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if it's like, if I'm coaching somebody, there's some things that like, yeah, you're going to have to probably, check that box. Looking back on it, I did get fulfillment from those objects. Like I bought an AP and iced out AP twice.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen pictures.
Twice.
Yeah.
Who buys the same watch twice?
Right.
And I bought it twice because the first one got stolen. Stolen. Because
you got it from that one, the famous guy on with
Peter Marco.
Yeah,
with
with the teeth.
With
the
those
white teeth.
Those frosty teeth. He became like a good buddy of mine because I just kept blowing money. Like I'd literally it's crazy to me to look back on like how normal I thought that was. That's not normal.
Right.
Like we would go to brunch in Beverly Hills, go, day party and this and that, and, living crazy, and then just walk down and say, oh, let's go to Peter Marco, and walk out and have spent 30, 40K.
Right.
And I used to think that was normal. Nothing wrong with it, right? Nothing wrong with buying nice things, jewelry, but it was just like, I'm like, looking back on it, and I'm just like, and I had conversation with Peter, and I'm like, so what do you think that's even what it's worth now compared to it's just hilarious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so like
crazy.
It's not normal. Even sometimes like I used to go and every weekend on just like dinners, like 15 here, 17 there, 3 there, like 2. I'm just like, oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. Oh, here, boom. And it's not normal.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that I'm thankful to have had those experiences, that I can really coach somebody when they start, getting to a certain level of success. But some of the things you do have to check off, and I think that's okay. I think there's just balance.
Yeah, there is.
Right?
I agree.
Maybe I'd probably, persuade someone, hey, I know you really want that iced out AP from Peter Marco. He probably sells them for like 40 to 70 grand.
Yep.
But I'd probably take a look at those Rolexes.
Right.
It's gonna
hold the
I
value
wish somebody
better.
would have told me that.
Gonna hold their value.
And, you're going to get a little bit older and you're just going to want to wear the Rolex, as opposed to looking like a rapper 24/7.
Right.
And especially in LA, maybe you don't have the problem here, but you're at the, club and you're looking like a rapper, you're very likely a target.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
LA's wild right now. I mean, we'll see what happens with, Gavin Newsom and the whole thing. I mean, California, man, I don't know,
It almost burned down.
Yeah.
Where we're from, I grew up in Pasadena.
How close were you to that fire?
Well, during the fires, I still had the penthouse in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And there was actually a fire in the Runyon Canyons.
And you could see it, I'm sure, from the penthouse.
Incredible.
The whole smoke was all in the sky and everything. I mean, I'm sure it was like it was a couple miles away from you or something.
So the Big Eaton fire, which was in Altadena. So there's Pasadena and Altadena is like up north by the canyons. I just wasn't around because I was always in Hollywood. So during those fires, you couldn't really get up there, but like literally there's no more Altadena.
Wow.
No, that will take 5 years to look normal.
Where do those people go? Sorry, I'm changing this.
No, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Where do they go? I mean, they had this multi-million-dollar home. It ain't going to be rebuilt for 5 years. Where do they end up? Do they end up here?
Could be. A lot of them, unfortunately, didn't have fire insurance, had really, shitty fire insurance, or they inherited the house.
So they couldn't even afford it.
They inherited their grandparents bought the house for probably, 70 grand, and they inherited it. It was probably then worth maybe close to $1 million, and it's just gone. You know, so a lot of them, that whole area is going to look different because those houses were just like generation after generation, and like the families lived in those houses.
Right.
They were just like, you know, and so it's horrible what took place. I think that California, especially LA County, is like the governors on the chopping block, the mayors and everybody in between, because they dropped the ball.
For sure.
They dropped the ball.
You guys didn't have water in the fire hydrant.
Yeah. People like
how's that even possible?
It's crazy.
I mean, I live in a desert. It's 125 degrees here, and we have water in our fire hydrants.
Wild.
You know what I mean? It's just wild.
You know, and so I think that it kind of has to, it's kind of like so obvious.
Right.
It's like this election. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say it, the previous president was so bad.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't complete a sentence that, like, even if you were like a hardcore Dem, you're just like, okay, like I really have nothing to say. I'm just going to be silent. It was so bad that, like, it was so obvious that, like, you know, we need to change, and that took place. That's what's going to take place in California. I really believe that California is now woke. I think there's more. It's slowly but surely more people are becoming a little bit more, red. I'd say, and I love the direction, and I think that the governor has to go.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I think that California has so much potential, bro. Like, you know, you look at that state, and you're just like, man, if you could just get some good people running that freaking state, I mean, that could be the golden child of the whole country. I mean, the weather, the freaking real estate, the oceans, the I mean, it's just like, you know what I mean? Like the fact that these leaders come into California and just like allow some of this stuff to happen, and like people, you know, we're sitting one state over here, like watching it happen, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, bro, like, what are you guys doing? Not you, but like, what are the leaders doing over there?
And that's what it is. It's like you are being paid, and now it's millions of dollars.
Right.
It's not hundreds and thousands. Hey, I'm at a $500,000 salary or $7. Now it's millions of dollars. Like 10 million. How do you live in a $10 million house? And, you know, like, wow.
Right.
Wow. Right. So you have one job. And, you know, look what took place.
Yeah.
Right. Because you were sleeping, or you were, you know, taking photos, or just not, you know, you were just
starting a podcast.
Yeah. Right. I'm just like, doesn't make any sense.
I think the second or third time.
Like, if you think about like the official, the public, what do they call it? Public safety.
Yep.
That's your job. Like, you should wear a shirt that says public safety. That's your job, public safety. And you dropped the ball. And it wasn't just like, oh, well, you know, we had this happen, so this. No. It was like very obvious what took place. You just fell asleep.
Totally.
You know, and I think people are being exposed, and, you know, I think that they're going to be made an example of for sure.
I agree, bro. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, last question for you. What would be your biggest recommendation to somebody getting started? Do you think that there's balance? Do you think that there has to be a season of life? I like to ask entrepreneurs this, right? Where there's no balance, and like you sacrifice your family, your friends, your freaking health, all the crap. Because I've done it. A lot of other people have done it that I've interviewed. Or do you think there's a way that people can be somewhat balanced and like be healthy and fit and be an entrepreneur and like build a company all at the same time? Is it possible?
It's 100% possible. I've had seasons.
Yeah, me too.
And I've had seasons, and it's hilarious looking back. I just mentioned I brought back on like a personal trainer, nutritionist, and they had my files from like the last time I did this.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like laughing at myself. I'm like, I was here. And the last I was like, they're like, oh yeah, okay, let's pull up your old files from the last time that you were here. Because what they were trying to say is, Nick, you've been in this position.
Right.
You've been 15 pounds overweight before. And then you just make a decision, and then you change, right? So I think that there is 100% such thing as balance, but there's also 100% such thing as like sacrifice and tunnel vision and a season of just a little bit of disassociation, a little bit of limited association, and obviously waking up a little bit earlier, going to sleep a little bit later. And if you don't have as many responsibilities, just straight up, you don't have as many responsibilities, that's an advantage. And if you do have a lot of responsibilities, right, then you just got to get better at time management. You got to get better at sales. You got to get better at, you know, just how you navigate. And I feel, you know, a lot of humans, men specifically, they lack in that department because they, the egos are up and they don't seek professional help. When I looked at myself, I think it was about a month ago. I said, you need help.
Yeah.
No ego. Your ego, I heard you say your ego's not your amigo, right? I said, I went to my trainer. I said, hey, let's weigh in.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? How do I need to do it? No ego.
Yeah.
Right. This is where I'm at. But I also made a decision, right? It's okay. It all starts with a decision, right?
Sure.
Like Tony Robbins talks about it, a decision shapes your destiny, right? And so a lot of these, younger entrepreneurs just decide, and you can kind of, pick and play as far as like the balancing. But I love, and I'm sure you do too, that season of just pure focus. It's so fun.
It is. But it is seasons, dude. I've never met anybody that just was consistent in every season of their life, in every area of their life. I don't think it's actually possible, personally.
Yeah.
I've had Andy Elliott here a couple times. I've had a lot of big names. I've had a couple billionaires sit right where you're at. I've never met a guy that just started day one and just the whole time, all the way while he built a $1 billion company. He had a perfect marriage the whole time. His kids loved him the whole time. He was healthy the whole time. He was fit the whole time. He was 10% body fat the whole time.
Yeah.
Like he went to church the whole time, every Sunday. You know what I mean? I've just never seen it. I've never seen it. They have these seasons where like they have to, unfortunately, dude, like they lose, and hopefully people can at least maintain the things that really matter. Right? That would be my advice, I think, to somebody is like, hey, don't destroy your relationship with your wife.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't have to, like, don't destroy your freaking relationship with your kids. Like, try to keep the main things the main things. If you have to let your health go for a short period of time or something because you're just working like a freaking dog, then do what you got to do. Right. But like, there's certain things I think, I don't know.
I could not agree more. Everything you just, and what you just said speaks experience because you've gone through it. And everything you just said, I've experienced. I've literally, at the end of last year, I was like, you know what, the gym is just, it's not that I'm late. It's just not a priority.
Yeah,
it's just not a priority for me right now.
Yeah.
I just straight up said it. And I said, I make no excuses. It's just not a priority.
Yep.
And there's just been, like you just said, seasons to it all. But I think the most important aspect or thing that I believe in is just the honesty and then just the drive and determination.
Yeah, totally.
Like, because we'll get up and be like, all right, now it's time to switch it up because I noticed X, Y, and Z is happening. And, I believe that like, us, these entrepreneurs, alpha, just movers and shakers and groovers, man, we will never stop. No. You'll never stop. I will never stop.
You can't.
I'm just too obsessed. I'm just too obsessed.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And it's okay to be obsessed, by the way.
Totally.
People that don't like the word, no. It just depends on what you're obsessed about.
Right.
Obsessed about the right things, man, you're going to live a phenomenal, phenomenal life.
I agree, bro. I think that's a great place to end it. Where do people find you, Nick?
Instagram, Flip King, @Flip King, YouTube, Nick Luevano, TikTok, man.
You getting on TikTok?
I'm getting into TikTok.
There you go.
Yes, I got my TikTok professional.
All right.
The blonde.
Okay, you're
sitting
gonna do
right
some
there.
TikToks today.
Yeah. We're launching TikTok.
Cool.
It's one of those things where I just didn't care much about, and I see the importance of it. So you will see me on TikTok. I believe that's Nicholas or Nick Luevano, YouTube, cool. Nicholas Luevano, Instagram. We're going to be, like I said, focusing on just providing as much value and free stuff as well. Like we got paid stuff, paid coaching and one-on-one mentorships and high level and beginners and everything in between, but also free.
Yep.
Because I remember what it feels like to be that guy or, girl just trying to get that first 1 or 2 or 3 deals.
Yeah.
So we're going to be rolling out a bunch of free, webinars and, content where people can just like, hey, this, that's the last thing I needed to hear or learn to help me make that first 10 to 15K.
I love it. Incredible. And I'll link all that information down below as well. So if anybody's watching on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you're watching, all Nick's information will be down below. Nick, I appreciate you being on the show, man.
Appreciate you having me, Austin.
Yep, of course. Hey, if you're still watching, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video, comment down below. Make sure you go check out Nick, follow him, hit him up for coaching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.